hours after Bombay High Court pulled up the Taloja jail authorities, activist Gautam Navlakha is still waiting for a set of spectacles for his pair of glasses. This is the state of affairs in our country today, where even cases where a lot of noise is made, where families are able to find the legal support to go to high courts, those in jail are struggling for something as simple as a pair of glasses. Now, the Maharashtra government and the Home Minister has said they're going to probe this matter. I don't know what is there to probe in this. A 70-year-old activist who is in jail in connection with the Bhima Koregaon case. He's still a 70-year-old man, irrespective of the charges he faces, that's a different thing. Has been asking for a pair of glasses to wear so that he can see properly for 2 weeks now. He broke his glasses on the 27th of November. His family claims he's almost blind without his glasses, and they're having to run around, they're having to go all the way to the Bombay High Court. They say they sent a parcel, they sent a set of glasses to the prison, but the authorities refused and sent it back, quoting security issues. And even now, this problem hasn't been solved. This is the second such example that has come in the last few weeks. The last one was of Stan Swami. Again, an extremely elderly man, languishing in jail, facing charges that are where the case is still going on. One needs a sipper and straw, suffers from Parkinson's disease, and for weeks together, it took him over a month, and a fight that people, activists, lawyers took from one place to the other, just so that he could get a simple sipper, so he could drink water without his hand shaking and water spilling all over. Are our rules such in our prisons that they are completely devoid of any basic human rights? Or are jail authorities such that they just don't care, that they will find one or the other rule to court, some procedural issue to court, and deny the basics that anybody should have, irrespective of the crime charge you face or the crime you may be convicted of? What's going on in this country? And the Maharashtra government that claims to stand up for the rights of citizens is simply sitting back, and a case after case is unfolding in this city, nothing being done. I want to understand, where is the problem here? Is it a problem of the law? Is it a problem of the law implementation, or simply that we don't care? Say good evening to Professor Vijay Raghavan, Center for Criminology and Justice of TIS, joining us this evening. Miran Borwankar, former Commissioner of Police of Pune, with us this evening as well. Charan Singh Sapra, spokesperson for the Congress Party, and Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate with the Supreme Court, also joining us this evening. But I also actually first I want to go across to Professor Vijay Raghavan to try and understand, Professor Raghavan, what is the cause here? Is it disdain for a certain, crime accused, or is it a larger systemic issue?
Well, thank you for inviting me for this discussion. There is nothing to be said as far as these two incidents are concerned, and it is as clear as it can be that such incidents should not happen in any civilized society. But I think that rather than focus only on these two cases, I would see them as a symptom of a larger malaise that is very much a part of our criminal justice system, particularly when it comes to access to justice for under trial prisoners in this country. We all know that 70% of prisoners are under trials, and the fact that an under trial is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, and a number of Supreme Court judgments have reiterated this time and again that except for the fact that their liberty has been taken away, all other rights within reasonable restrictions are valid as far as the under trials are concerned. And I am not aware of any law or rules which will not permit giving prisoners what is basic to them in terms of their living and basic dignity. So, I mean, that would be like a very straightforward answer to this question. If one were to go into what could be the reasons why such incidents take place, and if there is time for that, I will definitely discuss those issues.
Yes, absolutely, and you're right. These two instances have come to light because of the support that these two gentlemen would have, because of the access that their families or the lawyers or the activists have to bring it to light. But it's obviously reflective of a larger systemic problem, maybe. Miran Borwankar, thank you for being with us. You have the insights. You've been the former Maharashtra IG for prisons. If you can help us understand what's the procedure, and is it the procedure that often fails?
I agree with the observations of Professor Raghavan. I see a communication gap in both these instances. I don't agree that prison officers and staff, having worked with them for about 4 years, they are insensitive. There is definitely a procedure and nothing to mock about the procedure, where if a courier has to be received, the inmate informs the prison superintendent, takes the permission, the prison superintendent, in view of the security reasons, opens the courier. And in this particular case, if there were specs, a pair of spectacles, they should have been given to the inmate. And you have been talking of an activist and very elderly person. My question is, why is an activist and a very elderly person in the prison for so long? One. Number two, we do talk of training to prison officials, but I would like to flag, is the government, our political parties interested in them, or are they interested in selling the prison land to private parties?
Okay, that's an interesting point that you've raised, and definitely, we will come to that as well. But very quickly, Sanjay Hegde, your response to this as well. Is it simply a communication gap?
Well, communication gap, how could there be? I mean, the material came there, you opened it, you found spectacles. You knew the person for whom it was meant. You should have given it to him. At best, if you thought that there was something hidden in that, X-ray it, take it apart. That's all. It doesn't take rocket science to recognize spectacles and their usage. However, I don't think prison officials are used to being questioned by people outside the prison. It's a new experience for them. And Miraji is right when she asks, why are these people in prison in the first place? They're in prison simply because they've been arrested under the UAPA, and that's a hydra-headed case going on, catching all kinds of people and just chucking them into prison with no hope of a trial ever commencing. So they are in prison for a demonstration effect. And if the demonstration also includes that, irrespective of your condition, you will have to beg for your spectacles, you will have to beg for a sipper. There is a message which is being intended to be sent out. And I think that message does have a chilling effect on a lot of people. Mr. Raghavan also mentioned something, that these are two important prisoners and therefore their pleas are coming out. But 70% of our prison population, which are under trials, also have the same basic fundamental rights. Many of these people who were arrested in the CAA protests, the first thing that they are asking for is warm clothes. Now, until that problem came out into the public domain, There don't seem to be any particular prison rules or provisions for warm clothes for under trials. The prison system is also designed to just handle as many people as possible who are chucked inside, and there does not appear to be an adequate budget for treating them in a humane fashion. It is prisons are simply not vote gatherers. Putting people in prison, you get votes, but no politician ever got elected by saying that I will take care of people inside prison.
I think because there is no larger sentiment of people demanding that, irrespective of whether they are under trials or criminals, we still need to at least give them the basic necessities on warm clothes and a zipper or a straw or spectacles so that they can see. One wouldn't even think that's something that you need to ask for, but apparently it is. Now, two aspects that you've raised, Mr. Hegde. One, you said, is that in these two cases clearly show that it's being done for show, to send a chilling message to others of that, what can be done. The other that you say is a larger systemic problem. Now, I want to ask Charan Singh Sapra, what is it that we are trying to show, these jail authorities would want to show in these two cases? I thought this government completely wanted to relook at the way the Bhima Koregaon case had been investigated. But here is a man who has been put in jail for that, who can't even get his chashmas, Mr. Sapra.
See, Tanvi, I feel dignity of
trials is a very important issue, and definitely the issue of Mr. Navlakha should have been handled in a humane way. As far as I know, the jail officials have also said that they had denied that parcel on the pretext that there was a security reason for it. I feel that reason is insufficient, because even the protocol of the jail says that the essentials are to be supplied by the jail officials to the prisoners. And hence I feel the Home Minister, Mr. Anil Deshkmukh, he has ordered an inquiry into this, and probably in a few days we'll get the report, and IG Prison and probably the DG and the Home Minister will be able to take some action on this. I definitely feel that such cases should not be there. As far as I am also informed that the jail authorities had asked for the prescription, or probably they had asked for some specifications of his reading glasses, which they did not get. Probably maybe because his partner Sabah Hussain had already ordered it externally. But such cases should not happen.
So jail authorities are asking for the prescription details so that they can get it made, but when the family sends it, they send it back quoting security. Yeah. There is clearly something amiss here, Mr. Sapra. The Bombay High Court, a division bench had to sit on this case. Imagine that, how broken the system is, that somebody has to all the way go to a division bench and say, and they have to say humanity is most important, everything else will follow. Today we learned about Gautam Navlakha's spectacles. This is high time to conduct a workshop for prison authorities. Can you deny all these small items? These are humane considerations. But for 2 weeks they have been denied, just like in the previous case where two authorities were telling us that they don't have the zipper and the straw. I mean, I'm struggling to understand how can you not get these simple things?
Tanvi, let me clear the issue of Mr. Stan Swamy was different. That letter was written to NIA, and NIA took 20 days to go through that letter and to give a relevant answer that the zipper should be allowed. In fact, they wrote that zipper was not found when he was brought into the jail. So these are various, I think, systematic problems which needs to be looked into. Now, the state government cannot be held responsible for what NIA had done. For 20 days they have taken to answer to the application of Mr. Stan Swamy. Well, I agree with Mrs. Borwankar's statement that why these under trials who are so aged are kept for so long in the jails. Why don't they undergo some fast-track courts and the cases are resolved, or maybe if the under trials are to be punished, they should be punished finally.
So, okay, Miran Borwanker, would you want to come in on this aspect? Again, it comes down to simple things. Is there a procedure involved in a jail to say, okay, somebody needs a straw, we have to go all the way to the court to ask the NIA, where is his straw? And then NIA takes 20 days to say, oh, we don't have it. Couldn't we just get him one?
Tanvi, security is a huge issue in the prison department. You cannot ignore that. But I want to assure your viewers that prison staff, prison officers are adequately sensitized to the needs of the inmates. And in both the cases which you have quoted, I feel that I can't imagine a prison officer or prison superior leader would be so insensitive as to deny the zipper or to deny the spectacles. I definitely see a communication gap in this. And yes, we do need to retrain, train, and at regular interval our prison officers. And we, in fact, Professor Raghavan is here. We take help of TIS. We take help of so many academic institutes and NGOs to frequently train our officers, prison officers, and sensitize them to the needs of prisoners, the inmates. So I agree, it's both the instances being quoted and discussed, they deserve to be brought into the public notice so that wherever we are falling short, we will definitely try to improve. But I would consider the spectacle issue to be prison officer not realizing that this particular career is meant for Mr. Navlakha and it contains a spectacle.
Okay, so it's something as simple as saying, oh, it's not in my list. Maybe I wasn't informed about a certain parcel coming in, so I'm not going to take it because it could be a security hazard. Is that what could have happened?
Yes, definitely, Mr. Navlakha, if he had told the superintendent, I am expecting a courier and the courier will contain X item, I am 100% sure that prison authorities would not have failed in providing him the same. In fact, asking for prescription, I can imagine them ordering it from outside. Of course, they would make the inmate pay for it. I don't say that they would go to this extent of paying from their pocket, but let me assure you, you may criticize us, both the police and the prison officers. We try our best. Our ratio should be 1 prison officer for 6 inmates. But we are so much short of staff. Our ratio is much more than what is nationally or internationally accepted. Still, our staff is doing its best, even during the COVID time. And so many of prison officers have fallen to COVID just because we accepted the inmates and also accepted the infection. So please bear with me. We are not
let me
inhuman.
take that point. Let me take that point. Professor Vijay Raghavan, it's not a case of apathy. It's not even a case of any kind of, malicious intent or a political intent. It simply perhaps could be overburdened staff.
Yeah, if we, much as these 2 cases really, like I said, indicate a larger malaise. But if we keep going back to these 2 incidents, we would lose.
No, let's talk about the larger malaise. Let's talk about the larger problem, because that's where we will get to the root of it.
Sure. So if you look at the prisons in our country, like I said, they are full of under trials, which should not be the case. And we should look at why our prisons are full of under trials. Firstly, if you look at our judge population ratio, it is very low compared to that in many of the countries of the world where they have a faster rate of clearance of cases. Secondly, the issue is of staff vacancies. If you look at the average vacancies across the country in prison departments as well as in police, it is somewhere in the region of 20 to 30%. With some states like Uttarakhand, where I saw that the prison vacancies is up to 60 to 70%. Now, if 60 to 70% of the staff is not there, which is supposed to be, manning the prison departments, one can very well imagine the kind of stress and the kind of misdemeanors that are possible because of the stress that takes place when a person is working 14 hours a day and round the clock, and not getting leave, and with salary conditions not being what it should be. So that's one issue. The second and the very important issue, according to me, is the issue of legal aid. If you look at the situation of under trials, a large numbers of them are those who do not have access to good legal aid. And it is squarely the responsibility of the state to provide competent and free legal aid. We have the district legal services authorities under the high courts functioning for this very purpose. But one of the problems with legal aid is that the honorarium that is paid to these legal aid lawyers is really a pittance. I'll tell you, in Maharashtra, it is 750 rupees per hearing, up subject to a maximum limit of 7,500 rupees for an entire trial, which may go on for 2 to 3 years or even more. So that is really something that needs to be fixed if we are going to talk about less overcrowded prisons. And the third important thing I want to talk about is the issue of bail. There is this famous Arnesh Kumar judgment where it's very clear that if anybody is arrested in an offense where the maximum sentence is less than 7 years, ordinarily such a person should not even be arrested. But our prisons are full of such kinds of people who are there as under trials.
Yeah.
Why is it we are so conservative when it comes to bail? I'll just give you the example of the COVID times when the Supreme Court asked the states to constitute high-powered committees to identify categories of prisoners who could be released on bail or parole. Most of the high-powered committees have looked at offense category rather than health conditions, because the whole purpose of COVID bail was to look at those people who are vulnerable to getting affected by COVID. And so they should have looked at people who are senior citizens. They should have looked at people with comorbidities. But instead, they have looked at offense categories. And so most of the HPCs have allowed people who are arrested in less serious offenses to be considered for release on bail. And even the Maharashtra experience has been that despite the HPC giving guidelines to release these prisoners, many of the courts have been conservative and have refused bail. So at the time of the around somewhere in the month of May, the high-powered committee had decided that they will reduce the prison population of Maharashtra to 50%. From 35,000 prisoners, that was the prison population before COVID, they wanted to bring it down to 17,500. But to the best of my knowledge, only about 10,000 have been released purely on corona.
In fact, and I will go back to this example, but it's symptomatic of a larger problem. But Stan Swamy is an 83-year-old man, who suffers from Parkinson's disease. It's a nervous, disorder which leads to convulsions. He's still in jail, and Mr. Sanjay Hegde, his bail keeps getting denied. There is no respite being given to him. It was a huge, struggle to even get him to the hospital when his condition deteriorated, or to get him a basic sipper. Do you agree with what Professor Raghavan is saying, that sometimes when it comes to our bail cases, we are way too conservative?
I agree entirely, because you see, despite laying down that the normal rule is bail and not jail, nevertheless, the very act of granting bail is seen as a favor, as an indulgence, as something which is not a matter of right, but something which a judge considers, takes into account the nature of the offense, the possibility that the man will not be available for trial, the possibility that they may tamper with witnesses. And there is too much leeway given to the prosecution side at that particular. Nobody asked the prosecution, why do you need the man in jail after you filed the charge sheet? How soon will the trial commence? And who are the key witnesses? It's very rarely asked. The basic approach seems to be, okay, tell me something special which justifies this man or woman getting bail. So we often put the cart before the horse. There is an over-exercise of the power of arrest. Quite frankly, an investigating officer in Bhima Koregaon, if he had been asked, with regard to Stan Swami, do you really think that you need his custody? He may honestly have said no. But for the mere fear that somebody would say that, okay, you favored this man and not the others, he'll say, okay, I'll process him like any other. So in a case where you've already got Anand Tumde, Gautam Navlakha, Sudha Bhardwaj, and the rest. So what if Stan Swami is 10 years older or 13 years older and has shaking hands? That's not my job. My job is, okay, investigate, name has come up, there may be some material, file a charge sheet, let the courts deal with it. There is a certain amount of not in my backyard, it's not my responsibility kind of thinking, which permeates throughout the system.
I was trying to figure out how to phrase it, and you phrased it perfectly, Mr. Sanjay Hegde. Not in my backyard, not my responsibility, and then you find ways and means of not having to take a decision, maybe. But Mr. Sapra, I will come back to you because
An example which is not from these famous cases.
Okay, go ahead. You make your example, and then I'll go to Charan Singh Sapra.
This is a case that we are trying to get bail of a lady prisoner who suffers from serious blood disorders and also has epileptic fits from time to time. She is in for a serious offence in an NDPS case, but definitely not a threat to the security, etc. Her bail was rejected in the Sessions Court. And then through the legal aid, we have been trying to, get her bail hearing in the High Court. And this is something we've been trying for the last 3 months. And every time the matter comes up, it doesn't get listed and it gets postponed. This is about a person who does not have family support. And, there are so many such cases where, bail hearings are not getting listed, they're not getting heard.
It's sometimes it feels like such a mess when it comes to the entire system, from the structure and the system within the jails, overcrowding of jails, to the overcrowding of cases in your courts, and the way these cases just go on for years together. One wonders where you start from to even fix this system. So I'm going to ask Mr. Sapra, because his government, in alliance with the NCP and the Shiv Sena, came on the promise of saying, we're going to be different, we're going to be more humane, we're going to stand for the rights. In these cases itself, you said that we're going to look into it again and do a proper, fair investigation, Mr. Sapra. But none of that has happened. Even after the court has made such stinging comments, the problem in one case isn't getting fixed, let alone the larger problem.
See, Tanvi, as rightly explained by Mr. Hegde, and probably Mr. Raghavan also explained it in a very elaborate way. Let me tell you that these problems are, entangled. This is a sort of chain reaction linked to various departments. Number two, I wish to say that state government is definitely sensitive. That's why Mr. Anil Deshkmukh has ordered an inquiry into this. By ordering an inquiry, it is not only about an inquiry, he has sent a larger message that the jail authorities, if they're going wrong somewhere, they need to be corrected.
That's what I don't understand, Mr. Sapra. Yeah. What is the inquiry that needs to be done? Anil Deshkmukh is the Home Minister of the state. He needs to pick up the phone and ask the IG prisons or the jail authorities of what just happened. It's literally a matter of a phone call.
See, of course, he must have done that, but let's not go into that, what the Home Minister should do. He must have picked up his phone, he must have spoken to the IG prison, but there has to be a definite way of conducting an inquiry and getting a report. Maybe it's a matter of another 3 or 4 days. He will get a report, and accordingly the action will be taken, and definitely government should come clear on this, because this is about not about only one case. There must be several jail inmates who are going through such situations, and they are not coming ahead because they don't have such facilities over there. So this is definitely a problem which should be looked into, and hence the government, Mahavikas Aghadi government, is definitely serious about this.
Okay.
I want also to request Mahaagadi government not to take on selling of prison lands. Let's improve the administration.
Yeah, definitely. I accept your suggestion, and I feel we will present this further also. And the lands of the jail should not be sold or should not be given away. They should be preserved, and better jail provisions should be done for the inmates.
Thank you. Would appreciate that.
Thank you.
Tanvi, there's one more thing I want to bring in here, that in 2016, the Bombay High Court had taken up a PIL with regard to prisoners' rights. And in that case, they had asked the government of Maharashtra to set up a prison reforms committee by a High Court judge. And I was a member of that committee. That committee, called the Justice Dr. Radhakrishnan Committee on Prison Reforms, gave its report to the government of Maharashtra in June 2018 with a number of suggestions in terms of what could be done to improve the situation in prisons of Maharashtra. Unfortunately, the report has not yet seen light of day.
Okay, these are very important and valid points, and I feel maybe another conversation, with experts has to happen. On the other hand, I do want to say, Mr. Sapra, why I asked you that question about why does he need to order a probe is because this is exactly the problem that exists in the system. Ordering a probe into this is just going to again delay the whole thing and elongate the whole thing. This is why one man, a 70-year-old man, took 2 weeks to get a pair of spectacles. A 83-year-old man took 6 weeks to get a sipper and a straw so that he could simply drink water. And I don't even know how many others, hundreds may be facing similar issues that haven't even come to light because they may not have the legal aid or the support system to go all the way to high courts to make their case and present their case and beg to the high courts to help and step in. There is clearly a problem. Now, whether we say it's because prison authorities are overburdened, the jails are overstuffed, whether we say in some cases it's simple apathy or lack of concern, or sometimes intentional to send across a message, either which ways it's not all right. And on Human Rights Day, I want to make this a point. In our country, we treat everybody with that basic human dignity, irrespective of who that person is, especially people who still are under trials. They've not even been convicted of a crime. Their crime is yet to be proven in a court of law. What gives us the right, any of us the right, to treat them in such a manner? Think about it. Big thank you to all of our panelists for joining us on this conversation.